Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer, still out there in New Orleans. And we are looking at a pretty fun Friday night slate to end this work week for you guys in the NBA. In this one, we're taking a look at the Pelicans playing host to the Brooklyn Nets, who finally lost a game, but there is no Zion in this one, so there's going to be some pretty good action, we hope. Want to make sure to like and subscribe to that page. We've got another game video up for you and our player props, so continue to follow along with us each and every week of this regular season. Also want you to head to thelines.com. That's where we have our great written content for you guys, all the stuff we talk about here, and our odds finder tool that you can use to make sure you're getting the best juice back on all those sports books offering odds this NBA season. Nate, let's jump into this Friday night slate and then talk about our game, Pelicans and Nets.
We got Bulls plus 4.5 at the Sixers, who are going to be without Embiid. Otherwise, they'd be all over that for Philly. Blazers plus 1 at Indy, pretty high total, 237. This game, yes, we are talking Pels. I'm staying nary a mile from the Smoothie King Center, but not going to the game. Thankfully, I would be disappointed if Zion was out and I had tickets, but Nets are minus 4.5, depending where you get it. Totals 231. The other game we break down, Knicks are plus 3.5 at the struggling Raptors. Do like your Knickerbockers there. The Hornets plus 10 at the Bucks. The Wizards plus 2 at Thunder. Pistons plus 1 at Spurs. You got Cavs plus 6 at Nuggets. Looks like Donnie Mitchell's going to rest tonight. Clippers plus 3 at the Wolves. The Heat minus 2 at the Suns, and then Hawks-Lakers rematch, the Lake Show, plus 2.5 at home right now, despite just getting a win without LeBron. So I think that's our kind of bonus pick there. We like the Lakers at home. We do not like the Hawks. No, sir. Pelicans without Zion were able to get a win here against the Rockets, which is not really that impressive, and I'm just not really buying the fact that they still have a better offensive rating without Zion. I think a lot of that is 3-point variance. I mean, they're hitting 14 threes at 40% versus 10 at 35%. And there's no way those are better looks when you don't have Zion sucking in the defense. It's just guys stepping up, knowing like, look, I got to knock this down. This is our source of offense. And the big thing is their free throw attempts do drop off a cliff to a degree. I mean, 5 fewer per game. Obviously, no Brandon Ingram as well, so it's all about what CJ can do for you. And it's kind of a tough matchup if Ben Simmons is going to be out there hounding him. In his last 3 against Simmons, he's getting 17 points per game, shooting 39 from the floor, 22 from downtown. In his last 5 against Brooklyn, 1 of those with Simmons, but otherwise just, the Nets defensive scheme, which was not very good in 4 of those. CJ only 16 points per game on 33% field goal shooting. And right now the Nets are playing great defense, of course, under Jacques Vaughn. On the road, number 1 in 2-point percentage allowed, and the Pelicans don't really hit threes. That's why I'm, again, saying this is a free throw variance thing. Number 6 paid points allowed. Number 5 limiting assist to field goal. So if you say like, oh, Star's out, they're going to share the ball, that's not really something the Nets give up either. Where they do struggle is the free throw attempts. So that's why I look at that. And look at the fact that the Nets finally lost a game, snapping their 12-game skid by giving up 29 free throws to Chicago on the road here. They did limit Chicago 8 for 20 from 3. So, looking at a Zion-less team that isn't going to be able to pound them in the paint like that and get to the line and probably isn't going to have as much success hitting threes, I definitely like the Nets here. The 4.5 points is a little much, maybe. I mean, they're right around that in this kind of situation. 5.5 margin of victory as favorites, 20-7 straight up though. I kind of lean under though as well because of what I'm saying with the Pelicans not necessarily being able to score, and the Nets, they have gone under in 3 straight road games. The pace is down below 99. The Pelicans' pace drops without Zion. It's other than Kyrie and KD, it's just a lot of really kind of 3-and-D specialists. So it's not like there's a high volume of scoring from a bunch of guys here. And that Nets defense has been really, really good in general under Jacques Vaughn. So 14-7 to the under on normal rest for the Nets right now. And for the Pels, if you say they have a rest advantage, which they kind of do because they coasted against the Rockets, they're 5-0 to the under on a rest advantage and going under by 17 points per game. I mean, it's just not a lot of a sample size here without Zion. It's only like 8 or 9 games, I think, this season, and different guys have been in and out. But I think their offense struggles a little bit because he's out.
Yeah, that's fair. If there's any, just to be clear, do you like the total more, or do you like Brooklyn to cover 4?
I think I like Brooklyn to win more. And on a huge slate like this, money line parlay with whatever else you want, I would consider Brooklyn money line parlay and the under or a teaser, whichever makes sense to you.
Yeah. I mean, because I kind of just lean Brooklyn as my favorite bet, to be honest. And I know 4 points is a good amount, but I think they can cover that. Their offense is incredible on the road. And that's been the story. It's been part of the story. I want to talk about the defense, but I will start off by saying the offense has been incredible on the road. I knew that already because of sort of looking at some of those stats in the last week or two and seeing that they were scoring like 123.5 points a game on the road over like a 6-game period or whatever, which was absurd. And then, also because I was looking at some Knicks road stuff and realized, oh yeah, the Nets still have the best offensive rating on the road since the month of December started, right? So they've been doing it on both sides of the floor because they also happen to have like the second best defensive rating over the course of their last roughly 7 games as well, and that's a huge aspect of this game. You really just nailed everything that I think, all the angles that there are to look at, because if this game had Zion in it, you feel a lot better about the Pellies. This might not be a -4 spread in favor of the Nets to that degree, because of the fact that while the Nets have been, middle of the pack, let's say, in a lot of the categories that you need to be good at to stop a Zion-led team, limiting second chance points, limiting offensive rebounds, and limiting points in the paint and everything around the rim, all that kind of stuff. They're good at it, but where they've been really, really, really good over the course of the last roughly like all the way back to the beginning of their win streak, like before they lost to Chicago, 12 games before that. In those 12 games, they were number 1 in terms of limiting opponent 3-point makes, opponent 3-point attempts. They were 3rd, and they were limiting, and they had the second best opponent 3-point percentage. And a lot of times you look at 3-pointers and you say there's a lot of variance. Are you making the threes even if they're somewhat contested? But it's like, if you're limiting the amount that the team is taking and that they're making, that there's over a 12-game period, like that's not just getting lucky that other teams are missing 3. So I don't really buy any of that. I think there's a legitimacy to their wing defense as their wing players have gotten healthy to the point that you were making a second ago as well. And so yeah, then when you look at their offense at this point, that's where I think the Pellies are in a little bit more trouble without. I know Zion, they do have a better defensive rating with Zion. I don't know how much you buy that to the same level that they have a worse offensive rating without Zion. It seems like there's a bit of an anomaly, and it hasn't been over that large of a sample size. But there's almost the Ja effect going on. Not that they're better without Zion, they just seem to be posting certain better stats. So I would say for this one, like that's why I feel comfortable about Brooklyn. I feel I'm riding them. I don't feel bamboozled by this loss to Chicago. They haven't covered the spread against Chicago in that situation in the last 2 seasons. If you look at how they match up against them for whatever reason, Nikola Vucevic does his thing, etc. So that they just sort of out nets the Nets is the way the Bulls play, and this is not that game for them. Maybe CJ is able to pull a ton of mid-range shots out of his ass, but I don't think that's enough to really contain what you've got to expect to be 60 points every night from Kyrie and KD combined almost.
Exactly. I mean, those guys, 30 points per game for KD, 28 for Kyrie, both with an offensive rating over 122 and shooting a combined 55%, 42% from 3. They haven't lost back-to-back games since Kyrie came back from the suspension, since KD made those comments that whatever happened behind closed doors. They're 8-4 straight up on the season after a loss, also 8-4 to the under. So there is sort of a bounce back with our defense, theme here. And yeah, that Chicago loss, we kind of sniffed it out. We kind of mentioned in the player props, like this is going to be a high scoring game. Wouldn't be surprised if the Bulls pull it out. Like you got to lose sometime. But I think the Nets get right back to it here. And I mean, yeah, they were undefeated on the road in December and did cover in 5 of their 7 wins there.
Yep. No, I'm fully on board with that. So that's all the time we have for you in this one, though. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along. Check out our other game video and player props that we have for you tonight. And until we see you next, happy betting.